All right, welcome back to another episode of Nostalgia Street, where we share the stories that shape us. We're here in our beautiful and exclusive downtown studio here at Forefront Studios. I'm joined by my co-host, Vince, and our special guest today is Jen. Jen has a hard time coming out of her shell, as you'll find out. So we'll get into her and her story in a little bit. So we're going to kick this off as we always do. Mr. Vince has got the question of the day.
So we found out that Jen's guilty pleasure growing up was waiting for her parents to leave home so she could watch The Golden Girls.
Yeah.
So in this era of remakes and relaunches and etc., Jen, you are now the director in charge of casting new Golden Girls. What changes? What makes it more modern?
Okay.
Well, who are they?
And who are the Golden Girls?
Okay. Well, that's fun. You got to have Melissa McCarthy, I think.
Oh,
I mean, she's going to
good
bring
call.
a nice, fun energy, and
Yeah.
I find myself wanting to laugh with her. And then I think we need a great cast of characters.
Okay.
So Melissa McCarthy, Issa Rae. Let's do Tina Fey.
Oh,
All right.
Should we go in a direction of like?
you're the director.
Well, I want them to play clean. This is the problem. I'm trying to think of another comedian so it can be really funny, but we can't have an F-bomb every 4 seconds on the Golden Girls.
No, it's just Jim Gaffigan in a wig.
And it could work. I think there's a,
Yeah, if
Ali
Tyler Perry
Wong,
could do
Ali
it.
Wong could be great.
Well, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Are you going to have them play the same characters, or
Well,
derivations?
I didn't name anybody old, did I? What have you seen this lady on Instagram who she's like I wish I knew her handle. She's like, I would say in her 80s, and she wears house dresses everywhere, and she's very proudly showing off her collection of days of the week embroidered hand towels and dish towels. So maybe we need a fifth. Were there 5 Golden Girls or 4?
Just 3.
3?
Yeah, it was Maude, Blanche.
We're missing one.
Blanche. It's Betty White, Maude, and Blanche. Those are mixed names there.
This is before my time.
Oh,
I thought there were 4.
It was B. Arthur,
B. Arthur.
and then Betty
I'm
White.
not that into the Golden Girls, is the truth. Like, I would
Okay.
watch it,
Well-
but I can't, like, recite every episode.
Well, that's a good segue.
I was
a good
thinking
way
it
to
was
start.
three and an old lady, but so we probably need an old lady influence, and I'm going with the old lady on Instagram with her collection of embroidered hand towels.
All right, Ethan.
We just
she's
brought
a
a nice
sponsor.
mix to the Golden Girls.
track her down, Ethan.
Yeah,
Lots
I like
of luck,
that.
Ethan.
She's like, screw if there's 3. We're doing 15.
I need 5. It's
It's a cereal.
Well,
it's like
Just
Love is
different
Love
golden.
is Blind Golden Era. I don't know,
That was fine.
That's a twist.
That's a really good
That's
segue.
a twist. It's Love is Blind Golden Era.
right? We need some pods. Let's make it fun.
Let's do it.
Nostalgia Street invites you on a retro ride that's more than just a trip down memory lane,
Uncover life lessons and personal growth stories that stem from our collective past.
so you can live a richer, more connected life today.
Whether you're a 90s kid, an 80s teen, or simply young at heart, you'll find something to relate to in each episode.
Now, here are your hosts, Vince and Jeff.
All right. Well, our guest today is Jen Hazing, who is the Chief Development Officer at Girl Scouts. So you can see her Girl Scout.
Yeah, Girl Scouts
apparel.
Dakota Horizons in the house.
There we go. So as we always start, Jen, tell us where you grew up.
My hometown is Marcus, Iowa, Western
Marcus.
Iowa, Cherokee County, 712. It's about an hour and a half drive from Sioux Falls, I would say.
What is Marcus known for?
Well, the big event in Marcus that you will not want to miss is the annual Marcus Fair. The local fair in Marcus is one of their very few community fairs left in the state of Iowa. There are a lot of county fairs, but the town has a fair. And it's always the second weekend in August. And I mean, we lived away for a really long time. I would rather come home for the fair than come home at Christmas, just because it's when
Wow.
people are around and it's summertime. And yeah, it's fun. It's a really fun tradition. And for a lot of years, Marcus and Marcus Meriden Cleghorn High School had a really good high school jazz band. So you'll find those trophies in the new fancy high school over there.
So what was little Jen like? How does she compare to Jen today?
I think, so I was talking to my mom about this last night. I
Nice.
think little Jen and grown-up Jen are not all that different. Although I do
Yeah.
think little Jen, like our little Girl Scouts, are less fearless than grown-ups. It hasn't been beaten out of them yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I regarded myself as friendly and kind of engaged, and involved even as a little kid.
And did you always go by Jen, or did you have
I've
nicknames?
never been a Jenny.
Or Jennifer.
Some people will call me Jennifer, but I feel like most people from high school on, I was Jen for sure. There were 2 Jennifers in my school.
But no nicknames otherwise?
No Jen.
No
That's
J-Dog?
Nope. No J-Dog. Sorry to disappoint.
So nobody was calling 8675309
No,
because
no
you
Jennies.
were Jenna.
No.
That's too bad.
Jen and Chris. My mom didn't have any like E names, anything that ended with an E sound.
So what was your family dynamics kind of like?
So I grew up in this town of 1,000 people, right? With my high school graduating class was 56, which I think a lot of people kind of where we live some people can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up, it's my mom, my dad, my brother, and me. So a fairly small family unit. And then my paternal grandparents lived right in this same town. So I grew up with my dad's folks around. And then my mom's mom spent a lot of time around too. She lived elsewhere in Iowa, but just was able to be there. And my mom's dad had gotten sick with early onset Alzheimer's when I was about a kindergartner, which probably influenced a lot of like what was going on in that part of my life, but you can be oblivious to it when you're a kindergartner.
Yeah.
So our family unit was like that. And I didn't have like a million cousins. You talk to people who have a million cousins. I didn't. I had 3 cousins also in town growing up.
Yeah.
So we had kind of a small family, but we would do a lot of things together.
So where would you say your personality came from? And what did your personality today match your personality when you were younger?
You'd have to ask an objective third party. I don't know. I have 2 kids now, and they kind of are who they are, and they have been forever.
Are they like you?
We have sort of a matched set. There's one who looks and acts like me, and then there's one who looks and acts like my husband, Pete.
Interesting.
It is kind of funny. So I don't know. I suppose I would imagine just grown-up Jen is a more amplified version of...
Yeah. As I've always known you to be very not afraid to ask questions. So I
No,
wonder...
not afraid to ask questions. No.
Yeah, so I wonder if young Jen was like that.
I don't think so, but I was really fortunate to grow up in this environment where it was really encouraged. And, had great teachers and other people who were just encouraging you to learn what you wanted to learn and be who you wanted to be. I feel like that was maybe that's like an early 80s message to the world that you can grow up and be what you want to be. But I believed it, that's for sure.
So you're saying like that you used to spend a lot of time with your family in that area. So is there a particular story that you remember fondly that you tell your kids that, we used to do this? And
Well, I mentioned the fair.
Yep.
A big thing in our family story is music. So there has just always been sort of this thread of music in my family's history, I guess. My grandpa had a dance band that played around that area.
Wow.
Like, when he came back from the Second World War, he started doing that. My dad played with him in the 60s, and my mom and dad had a band. That's where they went when I was watching the Golden Girls. Sometimes they would play dances. And so we would get involved in stuff like that. So when I was a little kid, for a while I was pretty embarrassed to be put on the back of a pickup truck and hauled through the Marcus Fair Parade to be in a polka band with your grandpa and your mom and your dad and your brother. Like, it seems kind of dorky, but by high school I would say I'd kind of embraced that some. And now my kids have done that too. They have been in the back of the fair parade, and we have some musical traditions in our family. So I think some of that has just sort of continued to be an influence.
So what kind of music did you listen to growing up?
Well, all kinds of music. Like, I can remember somebody giving me a really hard time on the playground for really liking to listen to Stevie Wonder. And now I will very unapologetically listen to Stevie Wonder, and we could get into the details of which track on Songs in the Key of Life Volume 2 is like the best one. And I will not be embarrassed to have this conversation with you.
we won't make that blunder.
I like that specific.
We listened to a lot of, like, when I was a super little kid, we listened to a lot. So my parents would play music, would play records in the house or have cassettes in the car or whatever. There's a funk band called the Tower of Power. We listened to a lot of Tower of Power, and the one I really had, like, the LP cover was an illustrated cover that's like blue, and it had a lightning bolt, and for reasons that are not clear to me even still, the guy is holding up like a chicken leg and it's this arm with a chicken leg and a lightning bolt. So that Tower of Power album, whichever one that is.
That sounds amazing.
My brother was super into Michael Jackson. Super into Michael Jackson. So the Bad album, I have this very salient memory of my dad singing Man in the Mirror in our garage kind of thing. Yeah.
Is he serenading your mom or what?
Probably just being silly. Like, I don't
That's
know.
amazing.
Yeah. So there's always music playing, and lots of jazz, gospel, like lots of genres.
And I remember you guys have a very unique but fun family tradition you guys do.
Yeah, we do. So my husband's a musician too, and I know we're getting to later life. So I met him in college, and music is a part of that too. And so we started, I think, so my son who's 13 now, I think he was 1 when we did this for the first time. We made a Christmas music video and just recorded it and shared it on our social media, and it has sort of become a thing of its own. And now, like, my brother, who is like actually a musician for real, that's his career, has been in these videos with us. My mom and dad play, and we still record a video and put it up on Christmas Eve. And then it's fun just to have people reach out.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. So what did your parents do when you were growing up?
My mom was trained as an interior designer. So she was the original work from home mom. She, had a huge role in keeping the household running and keeping everything going. And then also she was able to do interior design jobs sort of in our community. And she can offer really interesting advice. Like last night, my friend was asking her about, we're getting a new front door. I don't want it to look stupid. Like, what is the right thing to do in terms of color? And she can offer really great advice about, like, she was helpful in that community. Marcus, the nursing home there opened in 1994. I think they had tried for many, many years, decades, I don't remember, to get that going. So she could do projects like that and create this sort of institutional setting that still felt very homey.
Yeah.
But she didn't have to go to an office to work. She could do that from home when she wanted to. My dad and my grandpa were in business together and operated a local county mutual insurance agency and an independent insurance agency alongside it. So that business was on Main Street in Marcus, Iowa, and it still exists. It's been sold since, but Smith Insurance Services is still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I also heard as you came into here that we may have reunited you with an old friend of
My
yours.
old friend, Katrina, my Cabbage Patch doll, is right there. That was a Santa delivery. So that's kind of a fun memory.
So we now know her name. We always wondered, but Katrina.
Well, and I don't know if every Cabbage Patch that looked like her was called Katrina.
Yeah,
Someone could do this research.
We don't know
I'm sure.
either, but we'll have to check
Yeah,
that
I
out.
think I will have to dig home through the photos. Now I'm
Weren't
really
those
curious.
hard to get?
Very.
I should ask my mom. I'm
you
sure my
remember?
mom was the chief acquisition officer. I should ask her where she did that. I mean, there was not Amazon bringing you stuff to Marcus, Iowa. She would have
Right.
had to go
Yeah.
at least to Sioux City or Sioux Falls to
I
figure
don't
it
remember
out.
when they came out, but yeah, there were people lined up for miles.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Steve Moran was saying like the Kmart days, it was just like limited stock, and it was like they were raffling off who could get one.
Yeah.
Very,
That was
very
fun.
fun.
I remember that was a big Christmas when you got your Cabbage Patch doll.
So what kind of adventures did you have with Katrina?
I don't really remember. I remember we had this little stroller. So I think she had a stroller, but it was just one of those things that you wanted, right?
Right.
It was the prime era of Saturday morning television advertising right here. Like the dutiful consumer that I am, I wanted the Cabbage Patch doll.
Dutiful.
Did you have any idea what you wanted to be when you grew up? When you were that age?
I think so. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Yeah, I had great teachers. And I still love teaching people. I mean, it's part of the reason I was attracted to the job I'm in now is growing a team, which is coaching people and learning and leading together. So, and later, I thought I wanted to be a band director. And now I work for nonprofits, and I always just kind of say I just conduct a different kind of thing. It's like lots of moving parts, just not in the band room.
So I don't know if Katrina was with you when you did this, but a little birdie told us that you used a phone for nefarious purposes growing up.
Oh, I can. Yeah, thank you. It's fun to talk about nefarious purposes.
Various.
It's fun to think about some of these questions that you guys sent over because the world is just so different now than in many ways than when we grew up. And I could remember like when you had a phone in your bedroom in the era of you had to call and talk to your friend's mom before you could talk to your friend.
Frightening. Absolutely
Yeah.
frightening.
I did have a phone in my room. And I had one of the clear phones with the like guts that you couldn't see inside after I
Oh,
had sold enough
fancy.
magazines in middle school.
Oh, yeah.
So the phone could be used to call the 1-800 number on the tampon box when your friends were over to ask like silly questions. And like, I mean, now I talk to my 13 and 9-year-old children about tampons. We're not embarrassed about this simple biological function now, but somehow in the late 80s / early 90s, it was like very giggle worthy to call and ask stupid tampon questions, I guess.
What was your favorite question? Like, would you ask the same question just to get a different operator?
Let me just tell you something. I am never a rule breaker myself, even still. That is a common theme. I probably help facilitate the phone call, but I doubt that I would have been doing the talking.
Okay, so friends did that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Coming over.
Good.
Yeah. Kind of my core. There's sort of a core group of friends.
So we had Brienne on, and she would do the crank calls quite often, and that was her modus operandi with her friends. It's just calling in the radio or calling wherever and just
call the cake place and have them make a cake made out of male parts.
My heart kind of palpitates when I hear this because I'm like, I get nervous about breaking the rules. But
you can't do that anymore. Caller ID and everything.
no, caller ID, you're never gonna fool anybody. And we were talking about this last night because my friend was saying, yeah, my job was to match the socks, and my mom would say you got to match the socks before you can go do whatever with your friend. And your friend's mom would tell you that. Now you just text your friend. I have no idea. Nobody has to ask me to talk to Grant or Sam.
Yeah.
So did you spend your whole upbringing in Marcus then? Or did you?
I grew up there. My dad had grown up there. His dad had grown up there.
Wow.
Yeah. And my great-grandpa actually was born in Parker, South Dakota. So I have a South Dakota connection that's older than a lot of South Dakotans' connections to the state. But at that time, my great-grandpa's dad had died of appendicitis. This would have been I would say 1906 or so. He died in Rochester, Minnesota, but he was from Parker, South Dakota, and he went there when he had appendicitis. Can you imagine?
Jeez.
Yeah. So after his dad died, then his family moved, the widow and the 2 children moved to Cherokee County and eventually ended up in Marcus because there was a job opportunity for her there.
We'll be right back.
So were there any urban legends or lore of Marcus that you as a young, child kind of bought into or helped perpetuate with your friends? Like, was there a spooky house in the corner, or was there, figures of people
Sounds really
that
boring.
Mean old man. Anybody that did anything?
I can't think of a thing.
Because we've heard about legendary figures in Brookings and in Jamestown and here, but I want to know if there's any in Iowa, small town Iowa.
I'm sure that there are. I really can't think of one.
Nothing haunted in Marcus.
Nothing haunted. Or maybe I'm just not interested, and so I never paid attention. That's also possible.
I'm curious, where did Marcus, Iowa get his name from?
From Marcus Aurelius. So when the
No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have the Marcus history books. I should have brought them as an item for your shelf. Yeah, the railroad came through there, and like a lot of towns, like the railroad guys named the town. This is how I understand it. So that's where Marcus came from. And then there's an Aurelia, Iowa, which is not too far.
Oh, wow.
So that's the connection there.
I'm a big fan of him. In fact, I have a daily Stoics book. And with coffee, my wife and I will read like a Stoic passage of the day. And then there's like a little commentary.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's written by, I think it's written by Ryan Holiday. He's had a couple of books around Stoicism.
That sounds like a good hobby.
Marcus Aurelius was a really interesting character.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking naturally about a gladiator, but he was a warrior poet. He's a leader of a country, but he was very humble and kept his head and his wits about him.
Well, that's what that railroad guy was thinking of.
Yeah,
And
interesting
now
cat.
he's got a town in the cornfields of Iowa
Yes, he
named
does.
after.
Lots of corn, lots of beans,
Would have never imagined that, Marcus.
right?
So, what did high school look like? Did you have different cities or towns that combined to have the high school?
Right. So our school district consolidated when I was a 3rd grader. And Meriden and Clickhorn are the other 2 towns, and Marcus is the biggest of the 3. And now that district is consolidated again, and with Remsen and Union, so it's even a bigger district. But at the time I was in high school, the grades came together for sharing in 6th grade. So yeah, by high school we all knew each other pretty well.
Yeah. So, what age range, high school? What year then were you in high school? From when to when?
Yep. I graduated from high school in 1998, so I started in 1994. Right? That's the math.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I do
Somewhere in that
development
range.
math. I'm not the CFO. I raise the money.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, let's be. Somebody
So
should
what-
fact check it.
What was going on in the world in that timetable that you recall?
Okay, well so. I am kind of a news nerd, and I have always been.
Yeah.
So I always kind of kept up on current events. I mean, obviously there was a 1996 presidential election. I can remember clearly the day Princess Diana died, which I think was 1997.
Mm-hmm.
What else was happening? I was sesquicentennial. I was 150th. The year celebration was 1996.
All right.
I can remember watching the CNN coverage of the Iraq War, right, in the early 90s. So that's pre-high school, but so that gives you a sense of the kind of
It makes me feel so
era
old.
we're talking about here.
I feel so old because I was in college when that Iraq conflict kicked on, but I was like you. I would hang out at the TV and watch it and keep abreast of what's going on. And Bernard, was it not Bernard Shaw?
Oh, Bernard Shaw. Was he on CNN?
Was that Bernard Shaw?
I think so.
I'm thinking it was an author.
We watched Larry King a lot, too.
I was just a baby.
Yeah, well, good for you. I love that for you.
And Princess Diana, it's one of those things you kind of remember where you were, at least I do. When somebody dies.
For sure. But I mean, I guess that too just kind of creates the backdrop, right? If you can remember her death so clearly, then you can remember her red sweater with the sheep on it. Like there's all this
I don't remember that, I'll be honest.
It's I want that sweater. It's an iconic sweater.
So Jen's in high school. Did what you want to be change, or where did you want to go after high school?
Well, so my parents and my grandparents and my aunts had gone to Iowa State to school. So I had just sort of always figured that I was going to go to Iowa State to school. I had this massive childhood crush on a basketball player who played at Iowa State named Fred Hoiberg. He now is the men's basketball coach at Nebraska.
Oh,
I know, it's kind of hard for the Iowa State people with the Nebraska thing, but they're Big Ten now. It's a whole deal. And so Iowa State was always super close to my heart. When I was later in high school, and I was kind of thinking maybe I would be a teacher or maybe I would major in journalism. Had always been kind of an interest too. But then I ended up in this high school music program. I'm sure we're going to talk more about it, but that sort of drove me like even deeper down the path of wanting to be a music educator and have a band and teach in Iowa. And so that's the direction I thought I was headed.
All right. And then, so where did you end up going to school at?
My bachelor's degree is from Luther College, which is a small
same as
John Meyer.
Oh, is that right?
Sarah Carnes. There's a few Luther grads around. My husband, Pete Hazing. Yeah, so Decorah, Iowa. It's like the northeast corner of Iowa. It's 242 miles from Marcus to Decorah.
Yeah.
We were close to there at one point. Because whenever we're in Iowa, Jen always messages me and says, hey, you guys are like 2 minutes from here, 10 miles from here.
That's the woo strength. Is the have you done Strengths Finders? It's like the connection. I love all that.
So I didn't know that was in Decorah. That's way on the other side of the state then.
Yeah, it's way on the other side of the state. So you'd be maybe 45 minutes from La Crosse, Wisconsin, about an hour from Rochester, Minnesota. So if Marcus is in the, kind of northwestish corner, that's pretty far northeast.
So was that good for you to be that far away from the folks?
It was great. So I was mentioning this high school program that I had done had a residential component. So I auditioned into this group called State Fair Singers and Jazz Band. And Luther and the Iowa State Fair were the primary sponsors of that program. Okay. And the way it worked was you would spend 3 weeks at Luther, living in the dorm, rehearsing in, music buildings, and then taking the show out into Iowa communities on the road. And so I just sort of had this familiarity with Luther. A lot of kids in that program who were Iowans who had an interest in studying music ended up at Luther. So it was a place that felt really comfortable to me.
How many kids went to Luther?
At the time I was there were about 2,500 kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on the enrollment numbers now, but there's the music is a huge thing there. There was a legendary choir director who taught. Can you imagine having the same job for like 60 years?
Wow.
He taught at Luther for, I think, 57 years. So there's a lot of, in fact, I had 2 conversations in Sioux Falls this week of people who were like, Mr. Noble called on me when it was time to decide where to go to college. I had a scholarship offer from Luther because Mr. Noble had called. So there was just this juggernaut kind of funneling music students to that place. And even if they didn't study music, they could participate in musical ensembles and, study something else.
Okay, I'm waiting for you to ask the question, Vince.
What question?
There's so much that's been talked about with band.
Oh, whenever we have folks who are in band, we always ask them what happened at band camp.
All the good things happen at band camp. I can think of the first thing that I can remember happening at band camp if you want to dig in the way deep.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. The first band camp I went to was the Morningside Summer Music Camp in 1993. I still had the t-shirt until 2 years ago. But the second summer I went there, OJ did his like, may he rest in peace, I guess. Had his famous Bronco ride.
Yeah.
Like that was on TV while I was at music camp. So that happened at music camp.
That was an
That's
interesting
not what you're
time.
looking for, is it?
No, that's not
I mean,
it.
that's about the most excitement I can bring to you. It's-
Remember, she's a real follower.
I am kind of a rule follower, sort of.
What is okay? I know you're a rule follower, but there's got to be an instance where you slightly
maybe you heard of a
reinterpreted the
story.
rules.
Okay, so if you want to break the rules, you want to at least not be proud of
not
it.
break,
Where
but like
I come from, you
slightly
like
interpret.
Slightly interpret.
Reinterpret.
I don't know. I mean, I do like to like.
She's good at hiding her tracks. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
That's what it is. I mean,
I got
there's
kids.
no cell phone evidence those days.
got
It's like
kids.
I don't have to. The Barbie Polaroids don't exist anymore. I don't know. I mean, I can think of college music tours anyway. Like Luther would take these incredible trips to different places. So on the one night and a lot of times you would stay in somebody's house. They might still do it that way. I should ask. Which was this sort of incredible cultural experience. And I stayed in people's homes in the Dominican Republic. I stayed in people's homes in Japan.
Wow.
But there would always be a hotel night. And the hotel nights could get a little rowdy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can
So
imagine.
maybe that's it. Like the beer in the sink in the hotel room and all that kind of stuff.
There we go.
Hotel night, music tour. How about that?
Well, not today. We know more about Luther College, and now I think we understand how John ended up there.
Was he in the music? I can't
Yeah,
recall.
he was cast in The Music Man when he was like 6 in Brookings.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know he. I didn't. As a band kid, I played in band and jazz band at Luther, and I sang 1 year in choir. Choir is a big thing there. I know John was in the Nordic choir, which is one of the choirs, the one my husband sang in. They wear these really pretty, very heavy, like velvet blue robes. It's really memorable. If
I
you've
thought
seen
you were going
it.
to say like Viking horns because
No, but those like you want to talk about kids who could do nefarious things. Like they would on choir tours, I've heard they would like take a folding chair and like pass it down the row while people were singing underneath these giant robes. Like
geez.
that's the kind of nefarious behavior we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So you and Pete met there then?
Yes, Pete and I met there, and I met Pete. We've been married almost 21 years now.
Wow.
I know it's kind of
Nice.
crazy.
Nice.
I met Pete on his way into the student union because I didn't know he was going to Luther, honestly, but I had heard him play music before because I was not all that big of a state. And I had heard he was maybe coming to Luther, so I was kind of surprised to see him there, but I was like an orientation helper. And he sat by my table to ask if I know where he could store his drum set. And boy, did he ask the right person. Yeah. Yeah.
Wooed
That
you.
sounds dirty.
Kind of does, doesn't it? Like now in the band room, Jeff. But what's funny is my brother and Pete had met years before. And I can remember my brother saying, if you ever meet, maybe this Pete guy is going to go to Luther. He has this weird last name. I don't know how you say it, but I do think you'd really like him.
Interesting.
And he was right.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I do really like him.
Because Jen's last name is spelled Hoesing.
Correct. And you say that hazing like rhymes with amazing.
Yeah.
It's
so what,
German, mit
German.
Umlaut. Yeah.
Okay.
And it translates to, my singer husband tells me it translates to high singer. So even our,
Really?
yeah. So this weird last name I got even has a music context. So that's fine.
Now, where's he from?
His hometown is Harlan, Iowa.
Okay.
It's like straight south of where I grew up.
We were
pretty
supposed
much.
to go there actually.
Were you really?
Yeah, then it got canceled.
I've been there before.
Oh,
Yeah, we
So
had a
so you
project
guys are
last
like
week.
the Von Trapps of Iowa then.
Yeah.
I don't know. We like music though. It's fun.
We talked about this with a couple of other folks that have been on here. As college kind of got close to coming to an end, how prepared were you for the real world?
Oh, okay. Well, I should amend my previous answer first about like what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I just remembered that my mom told me that she could remember the day I told her like, did you know that you can have a job where you run organizations like State Fair Singers and Jazz Band, or you work in nonprofits? Like that's a thing you could do. So as I got closer to college graduation, so she said she could remember that maybe when I was in high school. And so I started sort of working for that program that I mentioned before as a college kid. And when I was about to graduate, it just so happened that I was going to have the opportunity to administrate that program for a year after I had graduated. So I had sort of this like nice launch into
Yeah.
a friendly and a really cool job in a place I was already comfortable, where I kind of knew and understood how it was going to go. And like I had this cute little apartment, and I went to estate sales and bought all the stuff I would need for my apartment that my mom didn't, that I couldn't take from home. So I'd say I was like moderately well prepared for life.
But so going through all these years that a lot of kids do for their education, and then they finally get maximum freedom, possibly away from the folks. What was that adjustment like?
Oh, that's kind of interesting that you would say that. Well, because that program that I was mentioning that I did in high school, I was gone for the last 2 summers of high school. So I had kind of gotten this taste of autonomy.
Yeah.
That was really nice. And my parents had a lot of, they were trusting enough in me that after I had met these kids from all over the state of Iowa, they would let me drive from Marcus to other places to hang out with my friends for the weekend, because they were just other kids who were interested in what I was interested in, and they were, other kids who'd participated in the same things I had. So between that and the being away and staying in the dorms and like having to sort of, I didn't have to rebel because I had this opportunity to kind of do my own thing in a friendly confines.
So you were pretty well adjusted then by the time
Don't I seem well adjusted?
I think so.
I didn't never have to go real crazy, I don't think.
You seem like somebody who's really good at covering their tracks. So so we'll just leave it at that. So Jen, as I've known you for so long, you've always seemed like somebody who's been very, very focused, very like you have this mission and you go towards it. But during that developmental period in college or wherever, was there a moment or a time where you kind of felt like you had some self-doubt and you needed some guidance, or what did that look like? Because
don't we always?
We do.
Yeah.
But for me, my vision of you just always seems like, I'm Jen Hazing. I know that I'm going there, and here's how we're getting there.
Oh, I love it. I think I do, but we all have sort of seeds of doubt, or just sort of curiosities or questions. So like I said, my whole life I've been really fortunate to have really good teachers. I studied music in college. Maybe this is the nefarious behavior you're looking for. What I'm really terrible at is practicing music. Pete and my brother and my friends who are all these really great musicians would spend a ton of time practicing.
Yep.
And I never really spent that much time practicing. And I could remember, in fact, my teacher, Dr. Mike Cheshire, my clarinet teacher at Luther, kind of before my senior recital, I went into his office for my lesson, and he was like, all right, play that passage. So I played it. He's like, play it again. Play it a third time. And he looked at me and he was like, you are sight reading this lesson. You have not been practicing this at all.
Oh.
And I wouldn't say not at all, but so this sort of created some amount of doubt about like, can I really do this? Can I really be a band director if these are my percussion skills? I got a C on the cello. Can I really go somewhere and teach someone else how to do that? I don't know. But also in those lessons, Mike would be like, but you're really good at this. Why don't you think about this thing and follow that path? So I've just been really fortunate to have people in my life who have helped me build on my strengths and not bear down too hard on my bad practice habits.
We'll be right back.
So let's do this, Jen. Let's turn this on Vince. Was there a point in your life, your developmental years, where you felt like you had things figured out and then you found elsewise?
Well, that's my origin story. Everyone knows it. I was a washout wannabe lawyer. I thought I was going to be a lawyer from the age of 14 to about 23 or 21. And then I realized that maybe it wasn't for me. Like I was career focused. I was like, I'm going to do this internship. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to work for this guy. I'm going to volunteer for this campaign. I'm going to join this group. Like it was very much accomplish this. And then got to the point where, like you were saying, you finish school and you're like, is this where I really want to be? I'm really going to invest the next 4 years and oodles and oodles of money and time into this that I'm not entirely sure about.
But that's awesome.
Yeah.
Look, and your willingness to have enough confidence in yourself to follow it has led you to where you are now.
Yeah, but sometimes like I wish I had maybe more flexibility in my younger years and tried other things, instead of being so single-minded towards I'm going to do this.
Sure. That makes
I'm
sense.
really good at writing blue book essays, but like when it comes to anything else, it's like,
Yeah.
Blue book essays.
because you just have to make up stuff.
So go ahead.
Look at that.
Oh, I was just going to ask,
Figured
so Jen, we found out that eventually you do leave Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that's sort of when my more real world experience began, right? I had worked for the program that I mentioned for a year, and then got married, and my husband had graduated from school, and so we moved to Tallahassee, Florida.
Whoa.
That's a big jump.
It is, but like in a lot of circles, we were talking about this off camera before, the world is small, right? So again, another teacher, this incredible teacher of mine, Tony Guzman, who I met for the first time in my State Fair Singers and Jazz Band audition in 1997. So these people keep popping up in your life. Tony had really encouraged us that Florida State would be a great place for Pete and for me. And Pete had an interest in ethnomusicology there. And so I decided to apply to the graduate program in arts administration at Florida State University's then School of Music, now College of Music. Because part of the thing that was attractive about being a band director in Iowa, if I was going to take that path, is that it's a network, right? You know the people and you know the towns. I didn't know anyone in the state of Florida. I didn't know anyone at all. And so I decided, well, I'm going to apply for this grad school program in arts administration, nonprofit management, arts focus essentially, and see if that's a viable path. So we moved there in 2003.
Wow.
Biggest goal.
How long were you there?
We lived there like, 11 years? Something like that. Quite a while.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Our oldest son was born there. So Florida State was amazing. I mean, it was kind of, you're sort of like tiptoeing toward adulthood, I guess, if you go to grad school kind of on the heels of your undergraduate experience. So it was like, now we're married and we live in this apartment, but I was still going to school and working part-time and getting to experience that at this really big university where the College of Music, the School of Music at that time, just the music students, there were as many students as there were at Luther.
Yeah.
And the whole university was, I think the university population then was like 38,000. And no one was online.
Wow.
This was all very much in person.
In person.
So you have 11 years of Florida man stories then.
A lot of Florida man stories. Yeah.
What was the biggest kind of culture shock going from Iowa to Florida?
I mean, I find the American South to be it is a culturally different place than where we grew up. And plus now we're in a much bigger town, right? This isn't Marcus population 1,000, Decorah population 8,000. Tallahassee is similar in Sioux Falls to population size, so it's just much bigger. Well, weather was a huge shock, right? Because you do kind of get a sense of four seasons that far north in Florida. There's a lot more diversity racially in the American South than where I grew up. So that was really cool to get to experience that for the first time at that point in my life. What else can I say? Religion is a different thing in the South. Yeah. And the sort of this is a bold statement, but the sort of cooperative work ethic that I was accustomed to in my very small Iowa town that will come together and combine somebody's fields if there's a emergency or whatever. I didn't feel that same sense of community until I really figured out where to look.
Yeah.
In Tallahassee.
People are more fragmented.
I guess you just have to find your way to your circle, right? Yep. It's probably like that here too. It's just not the same as being in community with 1,000 people. You have to I found that I needed to seek out that community to really feel like I was a part of it.
So during this entire time, had you ever eaten a Girl Scout cookie?
Everybody eats Girl Scout cookies. I hope everybody should eat Girl Scout cookies, or at least share them with others.
They're an alternate form of national currency, Jeff.
Do you have a favorite?
Lemonades.
Lemonades. Okay.
I'm the peanut butter. Is it peanut butter chocolate?
The peanut butter chocolate one?
What's the name of that?
So there are two names for that. One is tagalongs, and other people might call them peanut butter patties. So,
peanut butter patties.
Yeah, here's a Girl Scout fun fact. There are 2 bakers that supply Girl Scout cookies to all 109 Girl Scout councils throughout the United States. And they have, some have different names and different recipes. So lemonades, you could buy those from our friends at Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa. If you're going to buy a lemon cookie from a Girl Scout here in our Dakota Horizons footprint, it's going to be Lemon Up.
Oh, so they don't all sell the same varieties.
Right.
Oh, when did
the
that
2 bakers
start?
have a little bit different lineup. Oh my gosh. A lot of years ago, I would say, I did a presentation this winter about Girl Scout cookies, and I learned some interesting things. I mean, at one point there were even more bakers, and now there's just the 2 relationships. So I'd say that goes back probably to the 50s.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
So you spent 11 years in Florida, learning all the Floridian secret.
Florida stuff. Going to the beach.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a...
Driving a convertible on
That'd be a
Christmas
nice
Day.
So,
alternative.
so
Good
what
things.
convinces you to go? You know, you're in Iowa. You spend most of your time in Iowa. You went out to Florida. You discovered the beach. You discovered seafood. All these wonderful things that the coast have.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, let's move back up north to where it's -40.
Right? Well, we didn't go from Florida to Sioux Falls. We lived in South Carolina for a bit too.
Okay.
So Pete had a really cool opportunity to join the faculty at a college called Claflin University. There is a Claflin University graduate in Sioux Falls, Willette Capers. I don't know if you know Willette, who works for
Yeah, I
Augustana.
know.
Yep. So it's a historically black college in Orangeburg. So we lived there for about 5 years, and then we came back. And it was 26 degrees below zero the day I came here to interview for a job. I should
bet.
have the record say. Well, our kids were getting older, and Grant, our older son, was about to go to kindergarten, and we just felt this kind of strong sense that being closer to family felt attractive. The quality of the public schools that we enjoy here was attractive to us, and so we sent out job applications everywhere, thinking somewhere like here could be a possibility. And I think we sent like 200 and something applications between the two of us in our household.
Wow.
And ended up in Sioux Falls.
Wow.
I'm grateful for it. So we were looking to be back closer to family, and it's, I was kind of mentioning that cooperative work ethic kind of thing, and there's just something comfortable about being a part of this part of the world and working here that I like a lot.
Yeah.
So how many now that you're at the Girl Scouts, so it's Girl Scouts of...
Our footprint is called Girl Scouts Dakota Horizons, and our territory is 164,000 square miles.
Wow.
And last year we had girls from 955 zip codes across that geography. So it's South Dakota, North Dakota, Lyon County, Iowa, Rock County, Minnesota. So just on the other side of the border from Sioux Falls, right? And then in Minnesota, basically from, say, the South Dakota, North Dakota border all the way to the Canadian border, like one strip there in Minnesota too. So we're in 4 states.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the age range again for Girl Scouts?
Girl Scouts are K-12. So any girl is welcome to be a Girl Scout from the time she is in kindergarten until she graduates from high school. And you can start anytime. You see lots of, like, when you think of Girl Scouts and Girl Scout cookies, I feel like you maybe think of the like little girls with their beret and their sash and all of that. Yeah, that's true. But it's also true that there are high school Girl Scouts who are accomplishing really amazing things. And you don't have to start and go all the way. You can join Girl Scouts when you're a 6th grader if you want to, or even later.
I didn't know they went that old. I mean, you hear about those Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts.
Is there an
and I don't
Eagle
know what
Scout
that
equivalent
is.
then?
There's a Girl Scout Gold Award. Yeah. So there are 3 higher awards, and the higher award sequence kind of starts when girls are, I would say, middle school age-ish. Bronze and silver are awards that you would earn in cooperation with your troop. So Girl Scouts is a lot about discovering what you like to do, and I suppose for that matter, what you don't like to do. Sort of connecting in your community and taking action so that you can, take care of meet needs and be a leader today, and you're preparing to be a leader in the future. So now I forgot your question.
Oh, just if there's an equivalent to the Eagle Scout.
Oh, right. So you start that. This is why I was saying that. So you really are kind of focused in as a group for these bronze and silver awards. And then the gold award, Girl Scout award, is for those who are, right at the tail end of that Girl Scout experience. They do really neat things. Last year, we had a girl named Nora that won a $10,000 scholarship from the National Girl Scouts organization for her Gold Award project. She created this ecosystem for a swan that was, a native swan to her area in Minnesota. She built this platform for these swans. She created all of that, figured out the science behind it, and she did that. So when you're a Gold Award Girl Scout earning your Gold Award, that's you. You might have a team of people who are supporting your work on the project, but it's your project.
Wow. So when does the Girl Scout roller derby competition begin this year?
There's 109 councils. Maybe there is roller derby somewhere. We might even have it, and I don't know.
We know a coach.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah. Dr. Mo would totally take that over.
Wow. Well, Girl Scouts is the whole thing is built on the volunteer, right?
And
It's
you-
volunteers who make things possible. So maybe
You weren't a Girl Scout.
I was a Girl Scout.
You were? Okay.
You were.
I am a Girl Scout.
Yeah. K through
Well,
12 and then
listen, you
12
can be a
plus.
Girl Scout. Are you man enough to be a Girl Scout? You can get online and send your $25 today and be a member.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I was a Girl Scout. I was a Brownie Scout. So that's like, again, that first grade, second grade age.
Yeah, that's what
And
my
then-
sister was. She was a brownie.
Yeah. I transitioned then to 4-H for a while. So I have done a couple different things. But I don't know. Recently I got to be a part of a conversation where we talk a lot about what we were. That I was a Girl Scout, but just imagine if we all considered ourselves still a Girl Scout.
Yeah.
Do we have that courage and confidence and character to pursue things now? Like maybe that's a good thing for us to think about in the present tense.
Yeah, true. Is there a percentage we know in the U.S. population of those that were Girl Scouts?
This is a really good question. Man, and I just heard it too. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I can't remember if it was like 1 in 4, 1 in 6. Quite a few. And Girl Scouts has done all this really interesting research. Up until recently, I don't know about the newest Supreme Court justices who are women, but for a while there, every Supreme Court justice in the United States had been a Girl Scout.
Wow.
And like half of the senators, half of the women who have been United States senators have been Girl Scouts.
That's cool.
So there's this pretty cool track record.
Do you have this gang sign you flash at each other?
No,
you
we have a
can't
pledge
talk
though.
about?
On my honor, I will pledge to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and live by the Girl Scout law.
That's
Which
the Boy
and the
Scout,
law
wasn't it?
is
The Boy
much
Scouts?
That's the
longer.
Boy Scout one, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it the same pledge?
No.
Oh, maybe I should be doing 2 fingers. I think it's 3.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we should bring Jeff Hayward on too, bring him back so we can have a scouting jamboree. Like,
That would be
just
fun.
full on
We could do
discussion.
a camping competition.
mean,
We'll build a fire on the set.
I work for Girl Scouts. I don't know much about Boy Scouts, but like any organization that's building youth
Character.
and building their character, to me seems like a good place to be.
Do we have any upcoming flavors that we should look forward to coming from the Girl Scouts?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what would be a great cookie flavor, Vince, that you would want to
There's
see
a
the Girl
lot
Scouts
of
do?
feedback about cookies. I can tell
I
you that.
bet there are.
People are very eager to tell you their thoughts on cookies at all times. So what's your pick? What are you gonna do?
Something like a cookies and cream Oreo type thing is what I enjoy, whether it's like coated in like the chocolate and then with sprinkles on it or whatever, but just that kind of that trying to capture that
It's
essence.
super healthy, right?
Well, I mean, it's cookies.
I was thinking like a salty sweet combo. We have it a little with have you had the Adventureful? It's one of the newer cookies. It's a round, like crunchy brownie cookie, and then it has like salted caramel on top.
Ooh.
So when I got to be a part of our Cookie U, we have this the cookie program is entrepreneurship, right? It's all about teaching girls to have goals and to set their goals and run their businesses, and they're the boss. So we have this program called Cookie U. And I got to be one of the volunteer teachers at Cookie U. And we did like a Mad Libs activity. And I asked, well, name a cookie. And every time the girls were like, Adventurefuls! Like that's what kids want, Adventurefuls. Grown-ups want Samoas or Thin Mints or, the ones you guys mentioned.
Have you ever had to tell parents to back down on the cookie sales because they kind of take it over from the kids and they kind of make it their own thing because it's a competition?
Sure. I don't know. That's not my role at the council, but maybe. But what I can say is this. When you buy Girl Scout cookies from a girl who is actively selling them herself, you're really supporting her development as an entrepreneur. You can always, and as a person, it would be great to ask her about her goal. Or ask her what she's planning to do with the money that she earns from cookies. So the girl
Aren't there
has
some
that
insane
experience.
stories out there of people who have sold just massive
Lots
amounts?
of cookies. Girls sell a lot of cookies. I mean, we have girls in our council that sell thousands of packages. And do you know somebody who did?
Well, no, there was that girl who got famous for putting up her table outside a dispensary.
Oh, I
and
suppose.
just
Yeah.
cashed in. Like,
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
That was crazy. That was something that was
That's
semi-controversial a couple years back.
I suppose. But girls do very well. And they, when you buy directly from them, you're really supporting it. You're supporting girls in the organization too. If somebody sends you people are emailing the link, right? You can buy
Right.
from girls all over the country, or you can buy from somebody whose mom is mentioning it at work. All of that is good. Where the girl really gets the benefit is where she's the one that's leading.
Yeah.
I asked that because in Boy Scouts we sold popcorn, and some of the boys they literally had their moms or dads were running the whole operation. Where it was like the kid wasn't really even going door to door, and some of us were literally going door to door trying to sell.
Our girls, I would say our girls are pretty motivated and they know what they're trying to get to. Right now, we've announced that there's going to be a trip to Australia in 2026.
Wow.
And there is a reward structure. So when you sell your cookies, you can earn money towards camp or programs or uniforms or anything like that. And there's a lot of girls who are talking about that they are pointing to that big travel goal in 2026, and they're going to sell as many packages as they can so they can go to Australia.
Sweet. So in your role in the development side, you are looking for additional funding then besides the cookies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, cookies are an incredible revenue opportunity for Girl Scouts everywhere and for our council too, but they can't do everything. I mean, our cookies help us offset a lot of our overhead so that we can bring programs to volunteers, bring programs to girls in those almost 1,000 communities that we talked about. But there's a limit to what can be done that way.
Sure.
You know, we need strong partnerships so that we can continue to be on the really cutting edge of things that girls are looking for and things that girls are going to need to be prepared in the future. So we have a lot of really robust partnerships and always looking for more, kind of focused around STEM. We have a lot of partnerships that help us bring activities into communities where there might be financial barriers, and we can't do that without our partners who share that passion for developing girls, especially in places where there might be different challenges than we see in some places. You know, we have fundraisers a couple times a year in a couple different places throughout the footprint, and then we have people who care enough about what Girl Scouts has done for them or their loved ones that they step up and say, you know, $25, $100, $1,000 a year, I'm going to send it your way because I know what you're doing to develop girls. It's been important, and I want to support the work. So fundraising is not about, I think a lot of times people think fundraising is like icky, and you're trying to convince people to like give all this money. No, all we are doing is presenting people with opportunities to give to things they care about and to advance causes that are important to them. We're just trying to match people to opportunity on all sides of the equation.
Well, to me, like, I think that I was talking to somebody just recently that, you know, in many populations, many communities, there's crime, there's homelessness, there's this, there's that. And when we have programs like this, where we are developing the character at a young age, that has to have a positive impact on that child so that they go forward and they can avoid the pitfalls that some people have, whether they get the opportunity or not. In a program like this where people could give, and even if they've already been a Girl Scout, Boy Scout, whatever, and they're able to help out, buying a box of cookies,
right,
that could be the difference maker that more kids need to be a part of.
You can come join the fundraising team anytime. You did great. It's the truth, though. Yeah. I mean, I like the whole premise of your show is it only makes sense in the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. Everything that we experience, it doesn't start to lock together for you until later. I mean, maybe some of who I am really did come from the idea that I got to be a part of Girl Scouts in my community working on a canned food drive in 1988 or something.
Yeah.
It seeps into us in ways we don't know. And I believe it. And it's why I dedicate my career to this kind of work, because we don't know what we're doing to empower other people right in the moment. And with Girl Scouts, you have some sense. I mean, there are girls doing things like Nora, and like girls who are having a food drive or a paper products drive or giving cookies to first responders. I mean, they're doing something now, but we're truly preparing them for a lifetime of leading in positive ways in their communities that's going to benefit the girl, and it's going to benefit all of us, because heaven's sake, the world needs Girl Scouts. We need them bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that leads into your favorite question at the end, Vince.
So, Janet, if you've seen any of the episodes, we know that the whole premise of the show, like you said, it makes sense when you look in the rear view mirror. So looking back, you know, of all your experiences up to this point, is there a particular moment, a story, a quote, a phrase, something that sticks out to you that you still use today in your personal, professional life that you think would be a really good opportunity to share with our viewers?
I've been thinking about it because I have watched the show. I don't know that it's a quote, but it's just sort of this mentality that, well, maybe it is, that the world belongs to those who show up. And each of us has a unique place in it. I wouldn't be doing Marcus, Iowa justice if I didn't mention this guy named Milo, who lived in our community. And Milo has passed away now. You know, he was a guy who had different needs in the community, but there was a place for Milo and Marcus. And Marcus made a place for Milo. He swept the floor at the basketball games for years. He was active on the fair board. He's like, there's a bench dedicated to him. So I grew up in a place that saw that there was a place for everyone and empowered me with the idea that I could make a difference and to be brave enough to try and step out and do it. So I guess that's it.
I like that.
That's a really powerful statement there. The world is for those who show up.
The world belongs to those who show up. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure I don't think it was Marcus Aurelius, but somewhere we can figure out who said it. That's what it is. So we just got to keep showing up.
Well,
I like that. That's good.
Well, friends, we will leave Jen's contact information and more information about the Girl Scouts Horizons.
Girl Scouts Dakota Horizons. Yep.
Girl Scout Dakota Horizons below in the show notes. Until then, continue to stay engaged and curious, and we'll see you next time on Nostalgia Street. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you're on iTunes, please take a moment and leave us a rating and review.
Head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. You'll get access to engaging visuals that complement our podcast content.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to having you with us on our next episode. So until next time, listeners, stay curious, stay engaged,
And never stop walking down Nostalgia Street.